I really enjoy diving into college basketball offenses, so today we're going to look at one of the 10 worst in the country with Seton Hall. We can see that they're not bad in transition, but they do a really poor job in the half court with their offense. Now the main reason that this is occurring is because of their 2-point attempts. They shoot a horrible percentage from 2-point range in the half court. We can see that they're 56% in transition, but I think they need to take more high quality threes and eliminate some of the shots that we're going to see here. We can see in one of their losses earlier in the year to Hofstra how they're playing so far off of number 4. We can see that they're sagging and allowing him to shoot the ball, but he's still forcing the ball in farther to the paint and taking out of control shots. One thing that we will see in these clips is that Seton Hall does a really good job offensive rebounding, but they're not going to be able to do this against really athletic teams. And when they take bad shots like this, they're not going to end up shooting very well from the field as a whole, and it's going to come back to bite them. Let's look at another clip here. They do a good job playing through this offense. They do a lot of ball screens and a lot of handoffs, but none of that matters if your shot selection is poor. We can see here another forced drive by number 4 as he tries to get too deep in the paint, and there's just not great options available. He gets a foul call here, but as we'll see in later clips, this isn't always going to be the case. We see another good action here. The offensive flow is not bad at all. But again, it comes down to decision making and shot selection for these players. So as we see the ball return to number 4, we see another contested pull-up, and these are just never going to be over 1 point per possession. So when we see that Seton Hall is shooting 36% from 2-point range, the big issue with this is that that's equivalent to the low 20s from 3-point range. Another example here where they could get a backside skip, but instead they're just forcing against that big man. What we're going to see here is we get a good drive, but again, we got 4 guys in the paint, and there's better options available than forcing that contested 2-pointer. We see a skip available here, and this is a really defining play because we see how they're neglecting the kick out 3 in order to take tougher 2s. Tough 2s are always going to get you beat against good teams because you're not going to be able to get bailed out by the refs consistently, and you're not going to be able to get the offensive rebounds that you would get on long shots. This is another good example of the poor spacing and bad shot selection from the mid-range. We'll see this a little bit later when they play another zone team, and that big man gets stuck between the dunker and the 3-point line and ends up taking these 7 to 12 footers that they really don't want. I can't imagine that this is what Shaheen Holloway wants for his team, but again, early in the year, you have to set standards for shot selection so that you don't get stuck allowing players to shoot these shots late in the game and late in the season. We see another example here. This is a good back down, but the shot selection that we're getting versus the low man defender just isn't high quality. It's really, really tough to shoot 50% or higher from 2-point range if this is your looks. Now they're driving the ball well, they're getting deep into the paint, but again, what is the result that we're getting out of it? Are we settling for contested pull-ups like this that are never going to be as efficient as they could be, or are we able to make a kick out like this? Again, the issue here is what do they want out of this possession? If you're okay with the pull-up, then that's great, but I don't think that's something that has paid off for them very well considering they're in the bottom tier of the country in half-court efficiency. We see another example here where we're in an isolation, putting up shots that don't need to take place when there's more time left on the clock in the possession. I think this possession is very indicative of some of the issues that they're having because they get an offensive rebound off the 3-point shot, they get the ball back, but again, they force a mid-range elbow shot and they're not going to be able to get these offensive rebounds. We see another one here where we have a corner kick available, but we hit the dunker spot and we end up with a 17-foot fadeaway. That's just not what you're looking for to win games. The big thing with these mid-range shots against less athletic teams is sure, you can get some of these rebounds back, but what you're going to find is that you could get that same amount of offensive rebounds back from 3-point shots. And if teams are tough enough to get these rebounds as they'll play later in conference time, you're not going to be able to get these second and third chances like this because teams are going to have the length to battle in there.